If your brain feels like it's running on low battery, dehydration might be part of the story. Yes, even if you drink water. Many people picture dehydration as extreme thirst, but mild underhydration can show up as mental friction first. You reread the same sentence. You lose your train of thought. You feel oddly irritable. That can happen when your body is short on fluid, or when fluid isn't staying where it needs to be.
Hydration is not just water in. It's water plus electrolytes, plus the right timing, plus losses you may not notice. And your brain is sensitive, because it relies on steady blood flow and stable salt balance to work smoothly. The goal here is simple. Learn the subtle signs that your hydration is off, and the common reasons it happens despite drinking water. Then you can test small changes and see what actually helps your clarity. Let's start with what brain fog from underhydration can feel like in real life. Moving to slide 2. One reason underhydration is sneaky is that thirst is not an early warning system. It's more like a backup alarm. Your body can already be a bit low on fluid before you feel thirsty, especially if you're busy, stressed, or used to ignoring the signal. Some people also confuse thirst with hunger, so they snack instead of drinking. And if you rely on "I drink when I'm thirsty," you may miss the window where hydration supports focus and mood best. Studies often find that even small fluid deficits can affect attention, short-term memory, and perceived effort. That doesn't mean every foggy moment is dehydration. It means hydration is a variable worth checking, because it's easy to adjust and easy to observe. A practical approach is to treat thirst as one clue, not the whole dashboard. Next, let's talk about the most common brain and body signs that suggest you're underhydrated. Moving to slide 3. Let's make brain fog concrete. Underhydration often shows up as slower thinking, not dramatic confusion. You might feel less sharp with simple decisions. You may struggle to switch tasks, or you feel mentally sticky. Another sign is a headache that feels dull or pressure-like, especially later in the day. Some people notice lightheadedness when standing, because blood volume can dip when fluids are low. Mood can shift too. You feel more impatient, more anxious, or oddly flat. And your sleep can take a hit, because dehydration can increase nighttime wake-ups, dry mouth, or leg cramps in some people. None of these prove dehydration by themselves, but when several cluster together, especially on days with more sweating, more caffeine, or less food, hydration becomes a strong suspect. The key is pattern recognition. In the next scene, we'll use the simplest at-home signal you can check without gadgets: urine clues. Moving to slide 4. Urine is a useful clue, but it's not a perfect scorecard. In general, very dark yellow urine can suggest you're concentrated and likely underhydrated. Pale straw color often suggests you're in a good range. But there are important caveats. Some vitamins can make urine bright yellow, even when hydration is fine. And if you drink a large amount quickly, urine can turn clear, even though you're not truly well hydrated, just temporarily diluted. Frequency matters too. If you're barely urinating all day, that's a stronger signal than color alone. On the flip side, if you're constantly running to the bathroom, you might be overdoing fluids, or you might be drinking in big swings instead of steadily. A simple habit is to check trends, not single moments. Ask, what's my typical pattern across the day? Next, we'll tackle the big misconception: why drinking water can still leave you underhydrated when electrolytes are low. Moving to slide 5. Here's the part most people miss. Hydration is not only about water. It's also about electrolytes, especially sodium, plus potassium and magnesium. Electrolytes help your body hold onto fluid in the right compartments, support nerve signaling, and help maintain blood volume. If you drink a lot of plain water while losing salt through sweat, you can feel washed out, headachy, or foggy. Not because water is bad, but because the balance is off. This is common after long workouts, hot environments, saunas, or simply being a heavy sweater. It can also happen if you eat very low-salt foods for a while, or if your appetite is low and you're not getting minerals from meals. The practical takeaway is not add tons of salt, it's match intake to losses. Next,
we'll map the hidden ways you lose fluid, because many people underestimate how much they're actually losing in a normal day. Moving to slide 6. Fluid loss isn't just sweating buckets in the gym. You lose water through breathing, especially in dry air or at higher altitude. You lose more when you talk a lot or when you sleep with your mouth open. Fever and diarrhea are obvious, but even mild digestive upset can shift your fluid needs. High-protein diets can increase water needs for some people because of higher solute load, meaning your kidneys may excrete more. And if you're in a heated room or wearing heavy clothing, you can sweat without noticing. The tricky part is that these losses stack. A little extra breathing loss, plus a salty meal, plus a long walk, plus coffee can add up to a foggy afternoon. The goal is to anticipate the stack, not react after you feel bad. Next, we'll cover a major even if you drink water trap, caffeine and other diuretics, and what they really do to hydration and focus. Moving to slide 7. Caffeine confuses hydration conversations because it's both common and personal. In regular caffeine users, moderate coffee or tea intake doesn't automatically dehydrate you the way people used to claim. But caffeine can still matter in 2 practical ways. First, it can increase urination for some people, especially at higher doses or if you're not used to it. Second, it can mask fatigue, so you miss early signs that you're underhydrated until you hit a wall. Also, consider what you add to caffeine. Very sweet drinks can pull water into the gut and leave you feeling off, while very little food alongside caffeine can amplify jitters and brain fog. The simplest approach is to notice your pattern. Does your second or third caffeinated drink line up with dry mouth, headache, or scattered thinking? If yes, hydration timing and electrolytes may help. Next, we'll talk about food, because a surprising amount of your daily water and minerals come from what you eat, not what you drink. Moving to slide 8. Hydration is also a food story. Many whole foods bring water and electrolytes together in a way your body handles smoothly. Think soups, yogurt, fruit, vegetables, and beans. They deliver fluid, plus potassium, magnesium, and other minerals, and they release it more gradually than chugging water. On the other hand, very dry meals, like crackers, jerky, or salty snacks, can increase thirst without giving you much fluid back. If you're skipping meals, dieting aggressively, or eating mostly ultra-processed foods, you may be missing both water-rich volume and key minerals. That can show up as brain fog, constipation, and low energy. A useful mental model is hydration budget. Drinks are one deposit, food is another deposit. Losses like sweat and dry air are withdrawals. Next, we'll address a specific trap, drinking a lot of water quickly. It feels productive, but it can lead to swings that don't support steady focus. Moving to slide 9. A lot of people hydrate in extremes. Nothing for hours, then a huge bottle all at once. The problem is that your body has limits on how fast it can absorb and use fluid. When you chug, you may briefly dilute blood sodium, trigger more urination, and end up right back where you started. Mentally, that can feel like a quick lift, followed by a slump. A steadier approach usually supports steadier focus, smaller amounts more often, and more around predictable losses like exercise or long meetings. Another issue is timing with meals. Drinking some fluid with food can improve tolerance and retention for many people, because you're also getting sodium and other nutrients. If you only drink between meals and your meals are low in minerals, the water may not stick as well. Next, we'll talk about a sign people ignore: dry mouth, bad breath, and thick saliva. It's not just annoying, it's a hydration clue with brain implications. Moving to slide 10. Dry mouth is one of the most practical signs of underhydration because it's easy to notice. Your saliva gets thicker. Your tongue feels sticky. You may wake up with a dry throat or notice bad breath even with good oral hygiene. Saliva is partly water, and when your body is conserving fluid, saliva production can drop. That matters for your brain too, because dry mouth often travels with nasal dryness, poor sleep quality, and a general stress response. Another clue is that you feel like you need constant gum or mints, not for taste, but to feel normal. If you pair dry mouth with headaches, constipation, or dark urine, hydration becomes a likely contributor. The fix is rarely just more water. It's often more consistent fluids, plus enough electrolytes from meals, and sometimes adjusting the environment, like using a humidifier in very dry rooms. Next, we'll cover constipation and digestion, because the gut is one of the first places your body saves water. Moving to slide 11. Constipation is a classic underhydration sign, and it can connect to brain fog in a few ways. When fluid is low, the body tends to pull more water out of the intestines, making stool harder and slower to move. That can lead to bloating, discomfort, and poor sleep, which then worsens focus the next day. It can also change how you feel after meals. You may feel heavy, sluggish, or mentally dull. Hydration helps, but it's not the only factor.
Fiber needs water to do its job. So if you increase fiber without increasing fluids, symptoms can worsen.
Electrolytes matter here too, because sodium and magnesium influence fluid balance and muscle function in the gut. The practical move is to adjust in small steps and observe. Add steady fluids, include water-rich foods, and consider whether your diet is too dry or too low in minerals. Next, we'll talk about exercise and sweat rate, because many I drink plenty people are simply not replacing what they lose during movement. Moving to slide 12. If you exercise, your hydration needs become much more individual. Two people can do the same workout and lose very different amounts of sweat. A simple way to estimate your sweat rate is to weigh yourself before and after exercise and note what you drank. Even a small drop can explain why your brain feels fuzzy later. Sweat also contains sodium, and heavy sweaters can lose a meaningful amount. That's why plain water sometimes doesn't restore clarity after long or hot sessions. Another overlooked factor is cool weather. You can still sweat under layers, and you may not feel thirsty because the air is cooler. If your post-workout pattern is headache, irritability, or a wired but tired feeling, consider that you might be under-replacing fluids and salt. The goal is steady recovery, not flooding yourself. Next, we'll cover a big reason people stay underhydrated while drinking water. Stress. Stress changes breathing, hormones, and habits, and it can quietly raise your fluid needs. Moving to slide 13. Stress can mimic dehydration symptoms, and it can also cause them. When you're stressed, you may breathe faster, which increases water loss through your breath. Stress can also change hormones that influence fluid balance, and it often changes behavior. You forget to drink. You drink more caffeine. You eat more salty snacks, or you skip meals entirely. Then you feel foggy, and you assume it's just stress, when hydration is adding friction. Another clue is tension headaches with dry mouth and a racing mind. That combination often improves when you stabilize basics, regular fluids, adequate minerals from meals, and fewer big swings. This isn't about hydrating away anxiety. It's about removing a physical stressor so your brain has less to juggle. Next, let's get practical with a simple self-check protocol. It's not a medical test. It's a short experiment you can run to see if hydration is contributing to your brain fog in a measurable way. Moving to slide 14. Here's a simple, low-drama way to test hydration's role in your brain fog. First, pick 2 normal days with similar sleep and workload. On day 1, do what you usually do, but track 3 things: urine frequency, headache or fog rating from 1 to 10, and approximate fluids. On day 2, keep fluids steadier. Start with a glass of water after waking, then sip regularly, especially before long focus blocks. Include a mineral-containing meal, like a soup or a balanced breakfast, and consider adding electrolytes if you're sweating a lot or eating very low salt. Don't chug. Keep it even. Then compare your fog rating and afternoon slump. If you notice a clear difference, you've learned something actionable. If you don't, that's useful too, because it points you toward other causes, like sleep debt, iron status, thyroid issues, or medication side effects. Things to discuss with a clinician if needed. Next, we'll cover safety and common mistakes, including overhydration, and who should be cautious with electrolytes. Moving to slide 15. Hydration has a sweet spot. Drinking too little can contribute to brain fog, but drinking far too much, especially quickly, can also cause problems by diluting sodium. That risk is higher during endurance exercise, heat exposure, or if you're intentionally forcing large volumes. Another common mistake is treating electrolytes like a magic fix. If your diet already contains enough sodium and you're not sweating much, extra electrolytes may not help. And some people need medical guidance around fluid and salt, including those with kidney disease, heart failure, or blood pressure concerns. So think in terms of right-sized, not more. A practical baseline is drink consistently, use food as a mineral source, and match extra electrolytes to clear losses like heavy sweating. If brain fog persists despite sensible hydration, it's a signal to broaden the investigation rather than doubling down. Before we wrap, one last helpful question. Are you underhydrated, or are you not absorbing and retaining well? That brings us to sleep, breathing, and environment tweaks that quietly improve hydration status. If this was useful, subscribe for more evidence-informed clarity tools, and comment A or B. Do you notice brain fog more from heat and sweating, or from long indoor focus days? This information is not a substitute for medical advice. Sleep deeper. Recover faster. Age slower.